What's up, everybody? It's me, Shelby. I'm here to do my Electoral College Map for 2016, and I did this in 2012, and I predicted every single state correctly. I predicted the states that Obama was going to win, and I predicted the states Mitt Romney was going to win in 2012. My map was accurate. You can see the map if you wish to on YouTube. I did post it back in 2012. I predicted everything correctly because I was being really objective about things. I went and looked at the polls, and I broke down the polls and also demographics. The polling combined with demographics and growing demographics in certain states, I was able to predict my map correct. Now, I'm going to do it again in 2016. This is how my map looks at the moment. Okay, so all the gray states are swing states. A lot of people have been doing their electoral college maps, putting them on YouTube, and I have to say that a lot of you guys are not being objective. John C. Fremont, I think that's his name. I looked at his. It was just not reality based. He had, like, for example, Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders to match up, and he had Ted Cruz basically winning every single battleground state, despite certain states. Like, he had Ted Cruz winning a state like Pennsylvania, okay, which is not a hard. I mean, it's going to be hard for a conservative to win that state, very hard, and I would get into that and explain why in a moment. But you have others, Kurt C28, just being very biased, and another guy, I can't remember his name. But a lot of these people are not being objective. You have to be, if you're going to do this, just be objective and be honest. You ain't got to be biased, So the fact of the matter is, it's going to come down to the same old swing states: Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Iowa, Wisconsin, Ohio. Really, I got Pennsylvania great, but really, it's not gonna. It's gonna go for a Democrat. Let's just be honest. Okay, New Hampshire, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. It's gonna come down to those states. And again, just being objective. Okay, this electoral college map favors the Democrats. Hey, I'm just being honest. It's not me being biased or anything like that. It does favor the Democrats. Okay, they have a shorter path to get to 270 than the Republican candidate will have. Okay, so it's going to be hard for a Republican to win this election. Okay, so, and let's be honest about that. It's not, this is just based off polling and demographics. And when you look at Real Clear Politics, for example, and the polling, they have a whole bunch of polling firms there. And you have some of those firms that are really accurate, really honest, that have been shown to be consistently correct, and you have some who just want to skew questions and all this stuff. Like Gravis Marketing, for example, they are not really a good polling firm you should be relying on. You know what I mean? So, and you have like Fox News, MSNBC, NBC Wall Street, Quinnipiac, PPP, those kind of firms that tend to be fairly accurate, let me say, for lack of a better word. And then there's the demographics. So this is my map, and I'm basically going to leave it at that because these are the swing states. I'm not going to just fill in anything and then give you, like, for example, I'll just say this: Wisconsin is likely to go blue, and that is because history, the historical trends. Wisconsin hasn't voted for Republicans since Reagan. It is a liberal-leaning state. Has a lot of conservatives here to swing it, though. It does. Has a lot of conservatives here where a Republican could potentially win, but really the fact that Wisconsin is traditionally liberal. Milwaukee had a socialist mayor at one point in its history. It's a very progressive state. So for anybody to not take those things into consideration, you're not being honest. So when you put Bernie Sanders up against Cruz, Mr. Fremont, or you other people that think like, or the other guy, Kersey 28, that had Marco Rubio beating Hillary Clinton in this state where I'm from, is not likely to happen. You have to be honest about that, just due to the demographics. This is Wisconsin is very liberal, very progressive, and it has a lot of blue collar Democrats. they vote Democrat. The blue collar people here in this state vote Democrat. There are a lot of conservatives though. There are. Okay, so I don't see a Republican candidate winning Wisconsin. I also don't see them winning Pennsylvania at all. Just flat out. So again, that's just more wishful thinking. Okay, so I just don't see that, and this is just based off the historical trends. Traditionally, Pennsylvania just votes Democrat. It has pretty much the same like Wisconsin, as far as a lot of blue collar Democrats are living in that state, and there's a lot of conservatives in the middle of the state too that can swing it. But for the most part, you got Philadelphia, that whole area, Pittsburgh, that whole area. A lot of colleges are in that area. Philadelphia suburbs are Democrats. So it is highly unlikely that a Republican can win that state. They try hard to win the state, but it's unlikely. No matter who the candidate is on the Republican ticket or the Democratic ticket, it would favor the Democrat candidate right out the gate. That's not me being honest. Being biased. That's just me being honest and being realistic. So, and then I would say out here, Iowa, same thing. I would say that's really more of a gray state, but just the fact that it's been voting Democrat the last 2 cycles, I would say that's the only reason why I'll make it blue. But I'll leave it gray for right now because a Republican can win it, but I think Hillary will win the state, but we'll see. Now, Nevada, just the demographics, I would say that's likely the outcome there. Okay, with Nevada, Latino population growing. Same thing in Colorado, where a lot of African Americans, Latinos, younger folks are moving into the city of Denver and the suburbs. That's the demographic growth. African Americans, especially Latinos, that's putting Colorado into the blue column the last 2 election cycles. And you got a lot of young people, a lot of graduates there that favors the Democratic candidate. Not to say again, a Republican can win Colorado. They totally, but I would say if you would have to say it favors the Democratic candidate at the moment, only because the growing demographics that occurred in the state. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it gray as well, but I would lean towards the Democratic candidate. And then you have Virginia, totally like Colorado, exact same thing except on the East Coast. And I would say we would favor Hillary even more, or Bernie, just due to the fact the northern part of the state has seen tremendous growth demographically. Okay, demographically it has seen tremendous growth, and it would favor Hillary or Bernie just due to the fact that there's a ton of African Americans in Virginia. There's a ton there's a growing Latino population. That's what's really putting these states into play. Colorado and Virginia is really because of the Puerto Rican and Latino growth that occurred in those states. Okay, so if you're a Republican, you have to be honest about that. These people who are doing these Electoral College Maps online on YouTube, be honest about that. Okay, but I'll leave it gray for right now. North Carolina is the same thing. Same thing as Virginia, except the opposite. I still would lean conservative, or for the Republican candidate. A Democrat can win it because of the demographic growth that occurred in the state, but I would lean that still on the Republican side. But I'm gonna leave that gray too for right now. Florida, I don't know. I'll leave that gray because that could be a toss-up. It could either go for Bernie or Hillary, or for Trump or Cruz or Rubio. If it's Rubio, he'll probably get Florida, but I'll leave it gray. And New Hampshire, that would favor the Democratic candidate too, just the fact that it's in the Northeast, and I don't see a Republican winning that state. I just don't. So this is my map. I'm gonna leave it like that at the moment. I'll probably come back and do another later. I'm gonna leave Wisconsin and Pennsylvania blue. I'm not gonna change those back to gray just because realistically speaking, there's no no way. I don't see a Republican winning those 2 states. Pennsylvania especially, but Wisconsin it would be hard for a Republican to get. So the gray states, I believe, Colorado, Iowa, Ohio, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. It will come down to those states. And let me just get to Ohio. I haven't gotten to that yet. I would say it would lean Democrat as well, only because of the demographics that favors the Democratic candidate, especially in the northern part of Ohio, and then at the southern part of Ohio where Cincinnati is, in the middle of the state where Columbus is. Otherwise, it's totally conservative. So, but like the northern part of the state is blue collar Democrats, and it's the auto industry up in that area. Very Democrat, hardworking folks up there. And as you go south of the state, you get into conservative territory, heavy conservative, until you get to Cincinnati or Columbus. Okay, so, but it's more people in the northern part of the state. That's Akron and Cuyahoga County where Cleveland is. That whole northern part of the state is going to go for Hillary. That's where most of the people live, and the northeast of the state as well. So, but it can swing. A Republican can win it, but it has to be the right candidate. And right now, I don't know. I would lean it towards Hillary. I don't know if Bernie can win it, but I would lean it towards Hillary if she is the candidate, the nominee on the Democratic side. So, this is my map at the moment. And as you can see, I based my prediction off evidence, not just my gut feeling or me being biased. I base it off history, historical trends, how did the state vote the last 20-30 years, and the demographics. And when you combine that, this is the kind of map you should be coming up with. Okay, and I would say this about Barack Obama. He's definitely helped people get interested in voting. So more people are voting. And if you got more people voting, then that will favor a Democrat candidate. The less people vote, then that will favor the Republican candidate. And so I've seen people with the Electoral College Map saying, African Americans are not going to vote again. They're not going to vote as much for Hillary or Bernie Sanders. That thinking right there is what get the Republican. And if the Republican Party is thinking like that, that's going to get you in trouble. Okay, you thought that the last time in 2012. That's why Dick Morris predicted the way he predicted. And Michael Barone and other conservative pundits who made the assumption that blacks and Latinos were not going to come out and vote for Barack Obama again in 2012 the way they did in 2008. But in 2012 they came out even more. More women, more minorities came out and voted. So, and I don't see that changing. I think Barack Obama is going to get out there and campaign, and he's going to go out there and campaign for these people. Whoever the Democrat nominee is, he's going to campaign for him. And despite what a lot of conservatives may think, Barack Obama's a popular guy. I mean, he's going to get people coming to the campaigns and trying to get them to vote. Joe Biden's going to be out there. Michelle Obama's going to be out there. Bill Clinton's going to be out there. So, let's just be honest. This map at the moment favors the Democratic candidate. It's not me being biased. But like I said, a Republican can win it, but they got to get these battleground states. They got to win all of them practically. That's going to be hard to do. So North Carolina is a total swing state. Either way it can go, but I would lean it towards a Republican candidate. And the same thing for Virginia, except I would favor the Democratic candidate in that state. But Colorado, Iowa, Ohio, New Hampshire is set up demographically for the Democratic candidate. So that's my map. We'll see. I'll probably make another one in June or July, perhaps August, and we'll see how it looks, how things look for there. By that time, it should be a nominee for both parties. So anyhow, you guys, peace and love. All right, take care. Bye bye.